The alarming rise in elder abuse. Are vulnerable Australians under attack in their own homes? Now today's story is one that honestly makes my blood boil, because it's not just about numbers, it's about trust. Calls to Australia's elder abuse hotline have jumped by 36% in less than a year. That's over 9,000 calls, each one representing a real person, often betrayed by the people they rely on most. So by the end of this video, you'll know how to spot the signs, what to do, and how to protect yourself or someone you love, so stick around. This could help save someone's dignity or even their home. And if you're watching this from outside Australia, hang tight, because what's happening here is likely playing out in your country too. The faces and the laws might change, but the pattern of abuse, sadly, looks strikingly similar around the world. So what's going on? Why are so many older people, often living quietly, trusting the people closest to them, becoming victims in their own home? So let's look at when trust becomes exploitation. Let's start with a real life story that grabbed the headlines. Now, a Sydney real estate agent, and I won't mention the name here, was trusted with the power of attorney for an 80-year-old man showing signs of Alzheimer's, plus he had an alcohol problem. And instead of protecting him, he bought his home for $500,000 below market value. The house next door sold for $1.1 million, but she only paid $600,000. And when she was hauled before the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal, she claimed she'd done the right thing. Well, the tribunal, they disagreed. They found that she had exploited a vulnerable man and suspended her license for 12 months plus an $11,000 fine. It's the kind of betrayal that cuts deep, and as Dementia Australia's Kelly Stokes warns, financial abuse is most often perpetrated by people entrusted to manage the money and affairs of someone living with dementia. And that's what makes this so dangerous. It's not strangers at the door, it's the people holding the spare key. Let's look at the shocking scale of the problem. Now here's what the research tells us. Almost 1 in 6 older Australians have experienced some form of abuse in the last year, and yet only 1/3 ever seek help. Financial abuse affects around 2% of older Australians annually. And that might seem small until you realise that's tens of thousands of people, often losing their homes, their savings, or their independence. And the risk climbs sharply when disability or dementia enters the picture. Now, half of Australians over 65 have some form of disability, and those with cognitive decline are at much greater risk of being manipulated or coerced. So let's look at the types of abuse and why dementia heightens risk. Elder abuse takes many forms. There's financial abuse, misuse of money, property, and power of attorney. And there's psychological abuse, intimidation, guilt tripping, or isolation. Physical abuse and neglect, failing to provide basic care or medical attention. Dementia adds another layer of vulnerability, because as cognition fails, it becomes easier for abusers to take control and harder for victims to speak up. Kylie Stokes puts it plainly. Dementia affects decision making and makes people more vulnerable to be taken advantage of. Now, the signs can be subtle. Fear, stress around certain family members, confusion about money, or sudden financial changes. And because the early stages of dementia can go unnoticed for many years, exploitation can happen long before anyone realises what's going on. Elder law specialist Rodney Lewis has spent 2 decades working on these cases, and he says the offenders are not usually strangers. They're family, he says. They might be a son, a daughter, or a relative, someone in that circle of trust. And he gives a typical scenario. 78-year-old Margaret sells her home and gives her son $600,000 to help with his mortgage, and she moves into a granny flat on his property, and then his marriage falls apart. The house is sold in the divorce, and Margaret, well, she ends up homeless, living in her car. It's a story that breaks your heart, but it's not rare. And while the powers of attorney are meant to protect people like Margaret, they can easily become tools for exploitation if not properly managed. Now let's look at the legal protections and their limits. Australia does have laws against elder financial abuse, but the experts say they are often toothless. Because even when victims win in court, legal fees can swallow much of the recovered money. Lewis argues that we definitely need better laws, especially ones that make it easier to recover stolen funds. A new national plan to end the abuse and mistreatment of older people is in development, aiming to toughen protections and boost community awareness. And they started working on that in 2024, and it's not expected to be completed till 2034. So once again, it's another wait and see. Meanwhile, banks are stepping up too, training staff to spot warning signs like unusual withdrawals or customers appearing confused or distressed. It's a start, but awareness alone won't solve the problem. So how do you protect yourself or someone you love? What can we actually do about it? Here's some practical steps that experts recommend. For older Australians, choose your power of attorney carefully, even outside the immediate family if needed. Get regular independent reviews on your finances. Keep important documents secure and up to date, and stay connected to more than one trusted person. For families, watch for changes in spending or new advisors suddenly appearing. Stay involved, but not intrusive. Be wary of isolation tactics. They're a red flag. And don't be afraid to seek legal advice if something feels off. And remember, if it can happen here in Australia, it can happen anywhere. In the US, the UK, Canada, New Zealand, similar stories emerge. Different systems, same heartbreak. So how do you go about getting help? If you suspect elder abuse, don't stay silent. In Australia, call 1800 Elder Help. That's 1800 353 374. It automatically connects you to services in your state or territory. And I'll leave that number in the description below. There are also dedicated hotlines like Senior Rights Victoria, the WA Elder Abuse Helpline, and the Queensland Elder Abuse Prevention Unit. And many community legal centres offer free advice for elder law matters. Governments are now investing millions of dollars into specialist elder abuse services, counselling, legal aid and advocacy, because awareness alone isn't enough. People need real support. Elder abuse thrives in silence, but when communities talk, watch and act, that's when things change. So let's keep the conversation going. If you have seen or suspected abuse, or just want to share a thought on how we can protect the people who raised us, drop a comment below. Your story might help someone else recognise the warning signs. Now, if you found this helpful and would like to support my channel, tap the like, subscribe and share this video with someone else who might need to see it. Because awareness is the first line of defence. And together we can build a community that values trust, dignity, and protection for all generations. And if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love this one next. I'm Robbie, living life in the Lockyer, life after 60, because looking out for each other never gets old. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.